March of 2013, during the very first ecumenical meeting, as Pope Francis made it very clear that he believes that Christians and Muslims both worship the same God. So there's just 3 years of Pope Francis, of him talking about the importance of one world religion and one world government. It just keeps coming up and coming up. It just keeps coming up and keeps coming up.
Yeah.
And
Mr. Rogers never would either.
The European common market is in the process of breaking up. Britain voted to leave, and it's coming up to France, Sweden, Czechoslovakia.
If France doesn't leave, they're going to riot the street.
Well, here's what something French Prime Minister Manuel Valls has perhaps stated the ramifications for Europe best. At stake is the breakup, pure and simple, of the Union. Now is the time to invent another Europe. To invent another Europe.
So that, I imagine,
one that might have 10 nations in it.
There you go.
Of course, the Bible talks about that there would be a 10-nation confederacy of the revival of the old Roman Empire.
Wonderful.
When Europe started binding together, people started pointing to Bible prophecy being fulfilled. When it got past 10, then people started wondering. It's gotten up to like 24 or 27 nations or something of that nature. But now it's breaking apart again, and there's people calling for a new Europe, which could fit very well in Bible prophecy. One of the most significant political and economic developments in our modern era was the EEC Treaty, the treaty establishing the European Economic Community. It was signed in 1957 in all places Rome. In fact, there are 2 treaties called, amazingly, the Treaties of Rome. One treaty establishes the European Atomic Energy Community, and the other establishes the European Economic Community, which later became the European Union. In 1995, there was a Western European Union, and I remember talking about this, that was made up of 10 nations also. So the idea here is that this could be the fulfillment of Bible prophecy of Europe redividing, and one of the other theories was that it was actually 10 groups of nations. 10 groups of nations, and but now the idea of it could mean 10 nations actually, which may include, because this is a revival of the old Roman Empire. This is the 8th empire that will persecute the nation of Israel. Could include nations like in the Middle East or North Africa. Yes. So, and then
that's probably where the euro came in also. People are thinking, well, what am I going to do with my money if we become a different nation? Well, once the euro took place, and distributed through many countries, they eliminated that problem. People were worried of the banks crashing in their country.
Well, Deutsche Bank, when they go down, which is the leading bank in Germany and one of the leading banks in the world, they are one of the leading banks, and when that happens, it's going to make Lehman Brothers, their collapse, look small, I think, personally. Well, that's probably the reason why they're going to force kind of keeping up and showing up their economy. But it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of only when Deutsche Bank will close down or go impact upon the economy of all the nations. So, and they don't think that they possibly can last there longer than 2 years. So some of them are saying within a few months. So we're facing, I would say, another pretty good severe economic downturn. And of course, this is not the only reason, but another one maybe greater than 2008 coming in the near future. And this time it won't be U.S. banks, it could be foreign banks that are going belly up. And then one more story that I find interesting. Frightening warning about approaching solar flare destruction revealed within Revelation. And it's taken out of Revelation 8:7, where it talks about 1/3 of the earth burning up. Okay? In this article, we will be focusing on only one of the fire-related destructive events described within the prophecy during the tribulation period, and the new discoveries made that are foreshadowing its passing. We may not know the day or the hour of such event, but we can clearly see the season approaching. Many are familiar with the prophetic event within Revelations that describes 1/3 of the earth being burned up, along with 1/3 of the trees and grass. John's wording is compact and precise and tells us exactly what he's seeing. Based on the wording of the text, many theologians and astrophysicists claim that what is being described could be the occurrence of a coronal mass ejection, or a CME, a coronal mass ejection from the sun hitting the earth. The surface of the sun consists of dense, superheated plasma. Think of the sun as a ball of liquid fire burning at around 10,000 degrees Fahrenheit, and not having a surface that is on fire, but it's literally fire through the fire, i.e., like a lake of fire, not a lake on fire. CMEs, or coronal mass ejections, are always being emitted from the sun, but should a large one be unprecedented scale directly strike the earth, this dense superheated plasma could push away part of the Earth's atmosphere. This would expose the stratosphere to 150 degrees Fahrenheit. Wow. Temperature of space, which would instantly crystallize all moisture within the stratosphere. As the CME pressure wave continues to push through the atmosphere, it would compress ice crystals into hail balls. This is exactly what is being described within in the text of Revelation. John described that before 1/3 of the earth was burned up, there came hail and fire, seemingly contradicting statements of matter. As the CME continues in the troposphere, it would then vaporize all planes, birds, and flying insects, which also complies with the next description from John, that the coming of the hail and fire was mixed with blood. The CME would then continue to the surface of the earth, where John clearly describes the hail, fire, and blood is then cast upon the earth, burning up 1/3 of the trees and the grass. As you can see, John's description is specific and intended to be a chronological order, describing exactly what one would expect in an unprecedented CME did indeed strike the earth. Wow. A coronal mass ejection. So 150 degree heat hits the upper atmosphere. It turns the crystals into balls of water that freeze, and then they actually catch on fire, and this would also incorporate anything flying, like mosquitoes. You know, you ever slap a mosquito, and then all of a sudden blood from the previous person is okay. All insects, all birds would all be vaporized, and all that blood would be also mixed with the fire and the hail coming down. So just exactly what John Revelations 8:7 says. Yes, it is. And then continuing on here.
Well, I see a hail fall and then catch the grass on fire, catch the trees on fire.
You know, in special circumstances, if you look up in like records, weather records, there's like a Dubuque, for instance, actually had frogs in hail. They actually had frogs in hail that fell down in Dubuque. Because what happened was is a tornado came and it sucked the frogs out of the water. They went up in the air and then they were frozen into the ice balls and they came down the size of softballs.
Did they live through that?
No. They wouldn't survive it.
You said it's like a miracle thing that happened.
But no, I mean it's odd. It's an odd thing, but the right geographic, the right weather conditions, with the right
geography. That movie Shark Data that was on every year.
Yeah. So crazy things like this can happen. But anyhow, it depicts how Revelations 8:7 could happen with hail on fire with blood. And it all comes in that same order too.
Wow.
The fire comes upon the hail.
Well, that makes sense. You hear a lot of theories about that, like nuclear war and such like that, but God says that the earth won't be destroyed except by His hand.
Yeah.
So that makes a whole lot more sense than...
I mean, it makes sense. And here's some things that kind of collaborate this a little. And also, there's what they call the Covington effect, which is the last major CMI, or coronal mass ejection. The last major one was 1859. I'm a big weather buff, disaster buff also. In 1859, there was a coronal mass ejection, and it fried all the electrical things that there was. Now, in 1859, basically that's telegraph. Okay?
That was all there was, telegraph.
All there was telegraph, but it fried all the telegraph lines. And of course, it's an EMP. Coming with that hail and fire and blood is the EMP, the electromagnetic pulse.
Yeah, and that would affect the entire world because of the mass of it.
Yeah.
What that would do today?
Yeah, it would throw everything back in the 17th century, 18th century, 17th, 18th century.
It wasn't burned up.
Okay.
It would tell you why they were on horseback fighting last war.
Here's a couple of, well, it's also why they could be on horseback. I did. Recently, governments all over the world have built over 1,000 doomsday seed vaults to ensure the survival of the human race. Governments in the last 10 years have built over 1,000 doomsday seed vaults. The largest that we know of is the Norwegian vault on the island of Spitsbergen in the Arctic Circle. In addition, governments have begun building massive underground bunkers and small underground cities carved in the bedrock of mountains for their leadership. First, unknown to most, Earth's magnetic field, which normally protects us from high energy particles of emission from the sun, is collapsing. The magnetic field is collapsing. Okay, with a reduced magnetic field, solar radiation and CMEs will now have a greater impact on the Earth than ever before. In fact, the European Space Agency recently launched the satellite array that monitors solar activity and the impacts upon the Earth. During the first 6 months of operation, it was revealed that the Earth's magnetic field was not only indeed collapsing, but it's happening 10 times faster than researchers first realized. In addition to recent discoveries by astrophysicists in Japan have revealed that our sun is in fact capable of producing what is now being called a super flare, which is 20 times to 1,000 times more powerful than any flare witnessed in our modern age, including the one from Covington, the Covington.
The last 7 days will be right back.
That sound more like everyone else than anyone else. Hey, all right, it's Kip Jasper.
Spreaker is the website which turns anyone into a radio DJ. Log on to Spreaker.com for listening to thousands of radio channels and start creating your own radio today.
We all run a busy schedule, and maybe we don't have time to catch the Gary Russa program. Well, here's the solution. The best of the Gary Russa program, highlighting the most memorable parts of recent shows. Each podcast I will play clips of previous shows and talk about them. Watch for podcast uploads during the GJRB's podcast weekend on GJRB's public site on Spreaker, reflecting on the past memories of past shows. The best of the Gary Russa program on GJRB.
Imagine one day tuning around on your internet radio only to find a station playing old radio programs complete with commercials and thinking, what am I tuning into? The past? You might be, or it's just GJRB Online and Radio Land. A day of nothing but classic radio shows back to back with classic commercials in between. Like the days of radio. Almost like your computer is picking up signals through time. Closer than you'll ever get to time travel. Radio Land.
Now, back to the last 7 days.
1859. So Europe has sent up satellites to monitor coronal mass ejections, and the Japanese have discovered that the electromagnetic field is collapsing faster than they thought, and this all prevents masses from hitting the Earth or causing less damage because of the magnetic field. We're told to do look for the signs of the end of our age, and it appears that the Lord has already warned us that the events described by John is indeed coming soon. During July 2012, a massive CME ejected from the sun and crossed Earth's orbital path missed us by only 1 week. This particular CME was unprecedented in size, an S-class. If the flare would have erupted just 1 week earlier, it would have hit the Earth square on. This CME blast was so massive that NASA referred to it as the solar superstorm of 2012, and it believed it would have knocked out civilization back to the 18th century, leading to a panic, war, starvation, and disease. This near miss was so shocking to various unaware agencies, they kept the event secret from the public for 1.5 years before they finally revealed it to the media at a recent space summit. Following Europe's early flare detection system, NASA has also recently launched their own CME detection satellites named Stereo, which will give the U.S. government 12 to 24 hours notice in case of an approaching catastrophic solar flare. So Europe, Japanese, Americans are all launching up detection equipment.
What good is that going to do?
Well, it gives you 12 to 24 hours. 12 to 24 hours. Whatever you want to do, which would be detection. Yeah, it's mostly detection. 12 to 24 hours. There's nothing you can do to prevent it. No. But anyhow, I just thought that all kind of interesting because it kind of does explain Revelations 8:7 and 1/3 of the earth being destroyed. Now, I got thinking about this, and okay.
Well, that's a lot.
When we go into Great Tribulation, all we got to do is look at the nations that are still in existence. Because, the kings of the East, they marched to the Battle of Armageddon. So I'm assuming that it's 1/3 of the earth now. 1/3 of the earth. So probably not going to be anything in the East. Okay. So then we got Israel, okay, and all the nations that attack Israel, that are around Israel. So that takes care of probably Africa, Europe, okay. So what third of the earth do you think we're talking about here that burns everything up? I mean, does that make sense? I mean, I've never heard anybody say that, but I just got thinking about that. If 1/3 of the earth is going to burn up, and if the kings of the east and Israel, it's not going to happen there, or Africa or Europe, China, it's not going to happen any of there. So what third is left?
America.
North America and South America.
Wonderful.
And if you stop and think about it, all the major meteor strikes have all happened around North America. All the majority, let me say that's
true. Like California, though,
including the one that supposedly knocked out the dinosaurs, which landed somewhere off the Florida in the Caribbean Sea. That destroyed the dinosaurs all around the world, supposedly. So,
can you explain this?
If 1/3 of the earth is destroyed, well,
there's some people who saw some streaks of this guy who looked like comets or something in California, was seen in Las Vegas. I can't remember where else. They said it came from rockets, apparently, I guess from China or something like that.
So it makes you kind of wonder why America's not a Bible prophecy.
Right. What was that doing nuclear testing?
You know, if you stop and think about it, though, like all the majority of the super earthquakes are around America. All the majority of the super volcanoes are in America. You know, all the major disasters are all centered around North America. And like I said, all the famous meteor strikes, except the one in Russia at the turn of the 19th century was a big one. But I mean, we seem to be the place that gets hit. Yeah. We seem to be the place that gets hit. Which also makes you wonder why that, and relatively speaking, there hasn't been people here for a long time, you know. But maybe because of major disasters. You know, there's a famous earthquake because all the major earthquake faults are off the west coast, and in the 1700s, when there was basically only Indians up in the Washington, Oregon area, an earthquake went off and it put a tidal wave, huge tidal wave, and there's a famous story of a fisherman. They were fishing in this inlet, and it lifted their boat and put it on top of a mountain. Okay, but the same earthquake, and it's from the 1700s, and I can't tell you exactly when. 1700s, when the earthquake went off off the west coast of Washington, the state of Washington, it actually destroyed a good part of Japan. That's how the waves went across the Pacific Ocean and destroyed a good part of Japan, because they know that from the Indian stories and the Japanese stories, it's the same earthquake. But that just shows you how powerful these earthquakes and then volcanoes. The same thing is the super volcanoes that are like, well, you hear about the one in Yellowstone. Yeah. Okay, the super volcanoes. There's a whole string of them. I think there's only like maybe 20-some super volcanoes, and I think we got at least half of them in our country. And they're all right around the northwest and west. And so they all run along the Rockies and up in the northwest corner. But again, it just dawned on me just today that if 1/3 of the earth is destroyed by fire, what 1/3 is that going to be? And it seems like to me the answer is it's going to be us. Wow. maybe that's a more of an emphasis that we need to pray for revival to strike this nation.
Yeah.
Before
Something else does.
before something else does except for God.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's not a lot of happy days on this today's story. It's all good, but it's all, you know, God's word is God's gonna coming true. God's word on His word. You know, so does anybody else have anything else?
Well, if you ever want to see landmass being built, go to Hawaii.
Yeah.
The volcanoes will create landmass.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that becomes very expensive property to build on. I wouldn't build on it.
What about New Madrid fault line? What about that one now? 'Cause we say we're due for an earthquake on that.
People will build in the most destructive area in the world as long as they have a good view.
That's like California.
Have a good view.
California, like
Riverfront property.
My uncle, he built a cabin in Lake Tahoe, and it was pretty close to the San Andreas Fault.
Well, you gotta understand that wherever
It's beautiful there.
basically wherever there's river, oceanfront property, that's where the fault lines are at.
Yep. And it's interesting. We used to fly over there, the volcanoes all the time, and you could see the steam and
Still coming up.
Yeah.
everything. And I'm thinking, 30 years from now, somebody's going to build a house there.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're going to forget that it was a fire and didn't exist.
Yeah.
Somebody's going to claim it as property and sell it, and then they're going to build a home there.
Yeah. And then you just have to watch out for the tsunamis,
Yeah.
from earthquakes.
God give it the little land, God take it away too.
Yeah, I'm reminded of the New Madrid earthquake fault line that runs through down the Mississippi River.
Yeah.
And 1811, 1812, you know, and
We're about
it's more powerful than like the ones in California. That land popped up and land fell down and whole lakes popped up and Mississippi ran backwards. Mississippi ran backwards and that 75 miles of each direction or 150 miles wide, no one survives. Wherever that earthquake, when it does hit, no one will survive because the ground actually drops down, which forces new ground to pop up.
So during the next one, hey, we could be sitting on oceanfront property.
Yeah.
Down in Florida, right?
Did the oceanfront property right here in Iowa.
Sinkholes.
Yeah.
We're the
Town knows it's starting. You know that.
Oh yeah.
What did it used to be? The VHS that tagled the music? Remember, they have a great thing.
Oh, we know all about sinkholes. We know.
That you do.
In our neighborhood, where Brian used to live and where I live now,
Okay.
there's sinkholes everywhere. His whole back of his house was falling into the ground.
Yeah. Hey,
In a sinkhole.
I would put boulders in the sinkhole and they'd disappear.
Seriously.
Seriously.
Ooh.
That's up by the high school.
Oh, by the
10th Avenue. 10th Avenue, up on a hill, Apparently there's like a cave,
Big cavern underneath.
a big cavern underneath that hillside. It goes like down to I-B. There's a big cave there because in my yard, on both sides of my house, the ground's caving in. I keep putting stuff in it, and you go there today. Well, on the west side, there's a hole probably about 3 foot deep now. I keep putting stuff in it, and it draws water to my basement now. Oh, wonderful! Because it fills up full of a big lake. It fills
whole house one of these days is going to crumble.
Now, what is it called? It's like gas that you can get rid of. That's like radon.
Oh, you don't smell it.
No, but can you get that from those types of areas?
Well,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, because
Sure. Yeah, well, you're more susceptible because there's it's like a New Madrid earthquake fault line. It's so powerful because there's not a lot of bedrock that's shielding the shock. Well, the same thing with radon gas. If there's a cavern space, it's not like dirt or clay or something, kind of filtering that gas.
So it's got an area to survive.
Yeah. Wow. So, yeah, our neighborhood's
we
terrible.
didn't hear about that. You know what I mean? You didn't... I'm sure it existed, but maybe
I didn't hear about it either.
Or...
I had a next door neighbor come over to me and goes, "Can you help me out?" I go, "Sure." So he goes over there and he goes, "I got this little hole about this big, He goes, "I keep throwing the things into that hole, and it just keeps developing." I go, "Well," I says, "You want to come over to my house? I got they're about this big." I says, and I told him about Brian. I said, "Brian's hole back into his house, and he had a big house. It was a big house. They sucked into the sinkhole." I mean,
yeah, it was sucking my entire cement patio into the ground.
Yeah, it was still sucking it down when I was living there. His whole, and on his kitchen too.
Yeah,
the kitchen.
You ready to go? Hey, Dan, let's do it.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll see.
That concludes this edition of The Last 7 Days. Opinions expressed on this program are not necessarily those of Spreaker or GJRB. Join us next time, here on Spreaker, for another podcast of The Last 7 Days on GJRB.
Imagine one day tuning around on your internet radio only to find a station playing old radio programs complete with commercials and thinking, what am I tuning into? The past? You might be, or it's just GJRB Online and Radioland. A day of nothing but classic radio shows back to back with classic commercials in between. Like the days of radio. Almost like your computer is picking up signals through time. Closer than you'll ever get to time travel. Radioland.
We all run a busy schedule, and maybe we don't have time to catch the Gary Russa program. Well, here's the solution. The best of the Gary Russa program, highlighting the most memorable parts of recent shows. Each podcast I will play clips of previous shows and talk about them. Watch for podcast uploads during the GJRB's podcast weekend on GJRB's public site on Spreaker. Reflecting on the past memories of past shows. The best of the Gary Russa program on GJRB.
This is GJR Broadcasting. Maria Chigara.